In today's lecture, we shall discuss about the generated voltage in synchronous machines. In the last class, we had a broad constructional features overview and knowing clearly that synchronous machines have three-phase stator windings and field winding on the rotor. Now, how the voltages are generated in those three-phase windings is the matter of discussion today. While we are trying to derive relevant expressions, we make certain assumptions. These are as follows. That means we assume that the rotor surface is smooth and with uniform air gap. That means we neglect the saliency effects in the rotor, and we also assume that the air gap magnetic field distribution is taken to be sinusoidal. That means there is a sinusoidal variation of flux density in the periphery of the air gap due to the rotor excitation or the field excitation. That means we can say that the rotor that the field distribution in the air gap will be a sinusoidal function of some angle, say alpha. Okay. So B can be taken to be equal to B max cosine of alpha, that is in the air gap. So this can be represented by this waveform shown here. So this is the variation of B with reference to angular position, and when at 0, when the rotor axis is aligned with the winding axis, then it will have a maximum value, then it will continue to go sinusoidal like this. So we are trying to visualize a situation in which you have a winding in the stator. Let us say this is the A winding with an A axis, and the field winding in the rotor something like this. So when this is excited, it produces a variation of flux density with its maximum value here as B max, and as you traverse by any position alpha, then it will be at this point it will be B max cosine of alpha. So that's what we are showing. This is the variation, and we are trying to identify with this variation what will be the voltage generated if this is running at some specific speed. So we are assuming the rotor is rotating at a constant speed. What will be the voltage induced in this coil? So we are now initially taking a one coil with sides, let us say AA dash. This is the A coil, and what will be the voltage induced in this coil? Okay, so with this picture in view, we go back to this function of B variation. Now what will be the flux per pole? That means what will be the flux per pole means, that means from this point to this point there are all flux lines, and what will be the total flux per pole? So total flux per pole will be, when you integrate the B with reference to space, say from say minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. This is minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. So throughout if you enter, so you get a flux per pole, that is the value. And in other words, in a mathematical term, the flux per pole will be the phi max, because this is the, whenever this is, the rotor is aligned with the stator axis, so that is the maximum flux that can link. That is the total flux will be, maximum flux will be maximum, that is the flux per pole. So that is flux per pole is phi max will be minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2 B max cosine of alpha d alpha into R into L. That is the, where R is the radius and L is the length at the air gap. So that means our denominations are that R is the radius at the air gap and L is the effective axial length. That means if you look at a picture of a machine like this, this will be the radius R from here to here, and the length is the axial length, that is the magnetic length from here to here. So we now picture this R and this is the length. The flux per pole will be the average, that is effective axial length. Phi max will be, we get an expression twice of B max into R into L, or the phi max is equal to the average B into the area of a pole. Area of a pole will be pi R into length. So that is the area of a pole. And average flux, if B max is the maximum flux density, average flux density will be 2 by pi into B max for any sinusoidal wave, and that in the pole area is pi RL. So this simplifies to pi gets cancelled, you get twice B max into RL. So the flux per pole is given by twice B max into RL. Now this is an important expression, that the flux, that is which is the maximum flux, will be decided by this expression, which is also equal to the average flux into pole area. This is average B, and this one is the pole area. Okay. Now this is the scenario as far as the flux per pole is concerned, and what will be the flux in the case of a 4-pole machine or any number of poles. We could see that for a p-pole machine, earlier it was 2-pole machine, the flux phi max or the flux per pole would be 2 by pi into B max is the average flux density into pole area. Pole area in this case is pi RL, twice pi RL, that is the total circumference into the length divided by number of poles. So this will be the pole area. Whatever we have seen is the pole area here. And 2 by pi B max. So this simplifies to this expression because pi gets cancelled. So we have 4 B max RL by P. That is the expression. Now, knowing that this is the maximum flux that is possible to link any coil, so the flux link as the machine rotates over theta, as we see here. After all, when this axis is aligned with this, the flux linkage is maximum, but when this is 90 degrees, then the flux linkage will be 0, and then when it goes the other way, it will be minus phi max and so on. So we get an expression if it is rotating at omega radians per second, the rotor, the flux linking the A coil, okay, linking of this A coil will be lambda AT equal to lambda max into cos omega t. Okay. Or while the lambda max is the number of turns in that coil NSE into the maximum flux. So this is the expression for the flux linking a coil or the flux linkage of a coil. And that means the same thing we are saying, the NSE, this is an important one. NSE is the number of series turns in the coil. In a coil, how many turns are connected in series? So whenever we place this coil here, this has certain turns. It is not just single turn. This AA dash, the coil has NSE turns. So many turns are there, right? So if there are one turn, that's different. So if there are n turns, the voltage induced will be n times that. Now having recognized this, the voltage induced in a coil EA would be the d by dt of lambda A. Now d by dt of lambda A is minus omega lambda max sin omega t. If we take that expression, that lambda A, if we say the lambda A is lambda max cos omega t, its derivative will be minus omega lambda max sin omega t. And we notice that this omega lambda max will represent the maximum value of the voltage, and it is varying sinusoidally with omega t, which is omega t is the angular dimension. And that, what is that maximum value? So we notice that the maximum value is Emax is omega lambda max as shown here. So that is lambda max is NSE phi max, that will be omega NSE phi max. Now if this is the maximum value, we know in an AC sinusoidal voltage, the RMS value is given by the maximum value divided by root 2, that is omega NSE phi max divided by root 2, where the value of omega is the frequency of induced voltage in radians per second, which is given by 2 pi into f, whereas the f is the frequency in hertz, that is the frequency of generated voltage in hertz, that is given by omega by 2 pi. So we get an important expression that E is equal to omega by root 2 will be 2 pi f by root 2, and 2 pi by root 2 is 4.44 into f into NSE into phi max. So this is an important expression for a generated voltage, where this 4.45 is 2 pi by root 2 is 4.44. Okay. Now this we now know that the RMS value of a generated voltage in a coil is given by 4.44 into F into NSE into phi max. That means the voltage generated is proportional to the frequency, and voltage generated is proportional to the number of turns in the coil, and voltage generated is proportional to the maximum flux phi max, which is also equal to flux per pole. And that flux per pole is decided by the flux density in the air gap, which in turn is decided by the rotor or the field excitation. Now we should know the relation now between the the frequency and the speed. So whatever we have discussed so far, we look at the following pattern, that the flux density variation is like this, and the lambda will be varying like this, lambda max with omega t, and E variation will be like this with E is E max. And obviously the variation of lambda max and E max, those waveforms are phase shifted by 90 degrees. Okay. Now we have now considered only a two-pole machine, but let us visualize a situation of a four-pole configuration. That means instead of two-pole here, we have another two-pole added here. That means it becomes a four poles. Instead of this being the presently two-pole is north-south. Now you can have a situation where you can have a four-pole, say some type of a situation like this. We have north pole, south pole, north pole, south pole, which means that as you traverse through one rotation, you will have a flux reversal taking place 4 times from north to south to north to south. So that is twice that of a two-pole system. In that case, we consider what is known as an electrical degree. Okay, and since they for a four-pole configuration, flux reversal is twice that of a two-pole. That means 2 cycles for each rotation, unlike in a 1 cycle for each rotation for a two-pole system. So we have theta m. We define what is known as theta mechanical and theta electrical. That means if you rotate 360 degrees mechanical, then you will have 720 degrees electrical. So we get we have a relation of theta mechanical and theta electrical. Theta mechanical will be 2 by p times theta electrical, okay, where p is the number of poles. Or in other words, the mechanical radiance to omega m will be 2 by p times omega, that is electrical radiance per second. That is the mechanical speed and this is electrical speed. That is 2 by p times omega is 2 pi f, or 4 by p into pi f. Now with this relation of mechanical and electrical speed, so we get a simplification further like this. Omega m, that is the speed in mechanical radians per second, okay, is equal to 2 pi ns by 60, where ns is the speed in of rotor in RPM, and the frequency f is given by p by 4 pi into omega m, because that is equal to the electrical frequency, that is because you have omega by 2 pi is where omega is electrical, and electrical angle is 2 by p times mechanical angle. So we have this relation. Omega we have already seen equal to p by 2 times omega m. So with this relation, it is possible to show that the speed, if ns is the rotor speed in RPM and we have already seen that omega m is the mechanical speed in radians per second. This is omega m, and omega is the 2 pi f is electrical speed. Okay. Therefore, we have ns is rotor speed in RPM, and we get the frequency f is p by 4 pi into, the frequency is p by 4 pi into omega m. Now, we write the same thing, frequency is equal to p by 4 into omega m, we substitute 2 pi ns by 60. Now, this will come to pi gets cancelled, and you will have 2 into 60 is 120. You have ns into p divided by 120. So, the frequency of a generated voltage in a synchronous machine is ns into p by 120, which that means it is proportional to the speed and is proportional to the number of poles. Higher the poles, higher the frequency. Or in other words, for the same frequency, the speed is proportional to 1 over p, because ns into p is constant. If the frequency is constant, the product of ns into p must be constant. So, we come up with a very interesting and useful information that for a low speed machine, it has high poles, and high speed machine has low poles. That means when the turbine or the prime mover is of a low speed, you must have large number of poles. That's what you find in hydro turbines. If the turbine is of a high speed, then you get low poles, and we get the expression for what speed we must run is very much decided upon the frequency. For a given frequency, we run at only one speed for a given number of poles. So, given by ns is 120 f by p. This is an important relation, which means that a machine with p poles must run only at a fixed speed ns for the fixed frequency. If the frequency has to be fixed, then ns must be fixed. So, since it is a fixed speed, and that speed is called a synchronous speed. That means we come to an interesting relation. Why we call it as a synchronous machine? Because it can only run at one particular speed, that is called the synchronous speed, for the specified frequency f, okay, and it should not run at any other speed. Okay. Now, we have seen that this is how we can get the voltage induced if you put one single coil in the case of a synchronous machine. But supposing we put let us say 3 coils like this, A phase, B phase and C phase, and we are likely to get a different situation. That means we have, we saw it in the last lecture, that there are 3 phase windings, and these 3 phase voltage will be induced. So, first A phase will be linked, then B phase will be linked, and C phase will be linked. So, we can look at that situation by understanding what will be the nature of voltage induced for 3 phase systems or 3 phase voltages. So, if we have 3 phase windings A, B, C, the voltage just induced in them will be phase shifted by an angle between them, which is 2 pi by 3 in time phase, to cause 3 phase voltages. Okay. So this is an important observation which can be made, that if you put one winding there will be single phase voltage, but if you put 3 windings there will be 3 phase voltages. Second, B winding voltage will be 120 degrees lagging the A winding voltage, C winding voltage will be further 120 degrees lagging, or 240 degrees lagging the A winding voltage. Okay, and they combine together, they form the 3 phase voltages. That means we have, if you have the A phase voltage, is EA. Okay, we come to, so if the A phase voltage EA, which is minus root 2 E sin omega t, the B phase voltage EB will be minus root 2 E sin omega t minus 2 pi by 3, and the C phase voltage will be minus root 2 E sin omega t plus 2 pi by 3. Because you have this voltage induced in an appropriate manner. That means if we can show that any voltage, supposing we have seen that minus, this is A voltage, A phase voltage, then B phase voltage will further be like this. Let us say this is the B phase voltage, and there will be further a C phase voltage which will be further lagging like this. So if this is A phase voltage, this will be B phase voltage, this will be C phase voltage, and they can all be represented by the expression which we have just seen like this. That is EA, EB, EC. A phase voltage, B phase voltage. So they are, but the RMS values remain the same, because the maximum value is also same. So you have the same Emax here. So this is the same Emax, and this is the same Emax. That means their RMS value of the voltage will be same, and as the expressions which we have already derived. Okay, now we have found an expression for the voltage induced in a single phase winding, A winding, which gets repeated in B and C phases, that is 4.44 F NSE into phi max. We know what is the expression of phi max, which is the flux per pole, and we also know on what factor the frequency depends. That depends upon the number of poles and the speed of rotation. And NSE is the number of series turns in each phase of each coil, which is a design parameter, and depending upon the voltage required, you can adjust you can design to have the appropriate number of turns. Now with this we will move on to some other modifications of the winding. Now in the winding which we have seen here, we have seen that a coil is made up of two coil sides which are displaced by 180 degrees. Okay, but it need not be 180 degrees. It may be somewhere here. The second one, suppose A is here, it's B may be somewhere here, A minus may be somewhere here. That means it is not be spanning 180 degrees. It may be spanning less than 180 degrees. So let us look at what will happen in such a situation. That means we would like to look at what these coils are called short pitched coils. They are not full pitch. Full pitch is spanning 180 degrees, and they are short pitched by a carding angle. They call it as a carding angle called beta. That means the coil is spanning an angle of 180 minus beta degrees. Okay, let us look at this picture. Of the carding, which is done like this. Now, okay. Right. Okay. Before that, we will. These are the three-phase. Okay. Right. Because what we have seen here is the three-phase voltages with EA. These are the phase shifting of EA, EB, EC. Now, as far as the carding is concerned, we have the scenario like this. That means we have a situation in which the angle between them is not 180 degrees, if you say A1, A2, and it is spanning less than 180 degrees, and this angle which is shorted by a beta. So, if the coil normally would be 180 degrees, this coil is having a short carding by an angle beta, and this, let us look, this is also called short pitched coils. It is not a full pitch coil, this is the short pitch coil. Okay. Now, with this short pitch coil, what will be the voltage induced? Now, in this coil, we have in this coil side, let us say a voltage induced is E1, and this coil side the voltage induced is E2. Then what will happen in the short carded, let us say the voltage induced is E3, and if it is a full pitch coil, then the voltage induced will be E1 plus E2. We will see here. Now, okay. In a short pitch coil, let us say E1 plus E2. We will show it again like that. Supposing we have a coil which is like this. So, if this is the voltage here is E1, and let us say this is the voltage here is E2, and which is this angle is 180 degrees. So, this angle will be E12, let us say, is E1 plus E2. That is, this is the angle. This is the, this is the voltage across these 2 points. Now, we will further say that if it is not 180 degrees, maybe for clarity, okay. Now, if it is less than that, and this angle is beta, let us say this we will say is the E3. Now, E13 will be E1 plus E3. So, if you try to understand like this, voltage in a, okay, we will say that voltage in a full pitch coil is E12, that is E1 plus E2, as shown here. Now voltage in a short pitch coil will be this, that is E13, that is E1 plus E3. So as we have seen in the earlier figure, we get the two scenario. That means we have E1 plus E2 full pitch and E1 plus E3 is short pitch. Okay. Now we have got this. E13 is due to short pitch, E12 is for full pitch. Okay. Now if you consider that E12 is, suppose the voltage induced in each wing is E, that means each coil side, if each coil side has a voltage RMS E and this is RMS E, this voltage and this voltage will be in phase, E1 and E2 will be in phase and they will add up to 2E. But it can be illustrated through this figure. In a full pitch coil, if this is E, other one is also same phase, so the total voltage E12 will be twice E. Whereas in the case of the short pitch coil, the second one will not be in the same phase, second coil side will not be in the same phase as the first coil side, it will be phase shifted by an angle beta. So the E3 will no doubt have the same phasor magnitude, but they will be phase shifted. So you will have E1 plus E3, that is E13, although the magnitude is E, and the net voltage here will be the limb OC. Supposing you say this is OA, which is equal to AB. In a full pitch it is OB, in a short pitch it is OC. Okay. And if you want to understand it better, in one coil side, if this is the voltage, in a full pitch this is E12 because second one is double that. Whereas in the case of a short pitch, the second voltage is phase shifted by an angle beta. So the second voltage, that is E3, will be like this. So the sum of the first and second will be E13, which is here. Okay. E13 is the sum of E1 and E3, okay, which will be somewhere in this in between. And we get a suitable expression for a, okay, the full pitch, we have E12, it is 2E, and in short pitch we have we get an expression 2E into cos beta by 2, because you will notice that this wing, this OC, will be twice OA into cos beta by 2, because this is cos beta by 2, this is beta by 2, and this is twice this, so this is E, and we notice that this half of this is 2E cos beta by 2, and the net is this portion is E cos beta by 2 and total is 2E cos beta by 2. So we get this limb OC as we get the picture that this OC, as we see here, will be twice OA into cos beta by 2. That is the expression for OC. Now, if we say that we define a term called Kp as a pitch factor, that is a voltage induced in a short pitch winding, that is OC, and a full pitch winding, that is OB, that is given by cos beta by 2. Okay. Now, we call this as a pitch factor, that is the ratio of voltage induced in short pitch to that in a full pitch winding. Okay. So, we now come to an important factor Kp, which is a voltage in short pitch coil to voltage in full pitch coil, that is E13 by E12, which is cos beta by 2. Now, if that is the case, what is the net voltage that will be induced will be, that is E is equal to 4.44 F into Kp into Nsc into phi max, that is the flux per pole. So, we now know what will be the impact of a short pitch. Next we come to another situation where there is a distributed winding. That means it is not concentrated but in one coil, but it is distributed in more than one. Okay. We may have a situation where there are not one but maybe 3 coils for each phase, where we can draw like this. Earlier we had just one. Now we can, instead of one, that means instead of, let us say it has 300 turns, there was only one coil. I distribute it into, let us say, 3 slots neighboring. So we can have, let us say, A1, A1 dash, A2, A2 dash, and A3, A3 dash. So I am not having one, that means there are 3 coils. They may be connected, let us say, in series. So instead of 300 turns putting in a pair of slots at 180 degrees, I put 100 turns distributed in this. So these are called the distributed windings in each phase. Okay. So if that is the scenario, we get this distributed windings. Okay. Okay, I have a better picture here. So this we have 1, 2 and 3, and this is the net voltage. So we notice that these are the 3 voltages which will also be phase shifted, and with an angle between the two, alpha, which is the slot angle, is the angle between the two. So if this is we notice, that means there is one coil, then there is the second coil and the third coil. So the total winding will be consisting of 3 coils here, and they are all connected in series. That means the end of one coil goes to the beginning of another coil, and so on. And the voltage in, let us say, one coils A1, A1 dash is say AB. The voltage in the second one is, that is EA1 is this, then EA2 is phase shifted by another alpha, and EA3 is phase shifted by another alpha. So you will notice that if you put them all together, the total voltage will be in the same phase, that will be thrice this value. Now the net voltage is AD here, and this AD, the wing, will be having some relation with the slot angle, and it is possible if you to prove that AD will be proportional to sine of 3 alpha by 2, or sine of, in this case, the 3 is the number of coils connected in series. It could be any number, let's say m. So if we generalize by certain definition, we can so we have a term called the slot angle, electrical degrees, and the slots per pole per phase is m. Now these voltages in each phase, in RMS, EA1 magnitude wise they are same, EA2 is equal to EA3 is equal to EA. So net voltage E will be the phasor of EA1 plus EA2 plus EA3. That is, at any instant, that is instantaneous EA1, EA2, EA3, or is the net voltage E will be EA1, phasor of EA1 plus phasor of EA2 plus phasor of EA3. So resultant voltage of a distributed winding, we can show, that is in this case, let us say this is OA, we can show that the net voltage is OA, that is, this is the radius, into sine m alpha by 2. So this voltage AD, we represent here as AD, is OA into sine alpha by 2. So in fact, if you want to look at the two pictures together, maybe we can put it like this. That means AD limb can be proven to be AO into sine of, this total is m alpha and half of it. That means sine m alpha by 2, that is twice of AX. Okay. Now, whereas the case of a voltage of a concentrated winding is m times AB. That is, we have seen if this is AB, the total voltage, if it were all concentrated, will be m times this. M is the slots per pole per phase. Okay. So we have the KD, we get voltage of concentrated winding is m times AB, that is m times AO sine alpha by 2. Okay. And we come to an important definition of what is known as a distributed winding factor, or a KD is a distribution factor, which is voltage in a distributed winding to voltage in a concentrated winding. That means in this case, if you look at this picture, this will be the voltage AD divided by m times voltage AB. Okay. And we have seen that AD is equal to m sine m alpha by 2, and the AB is nothing but sine alpha by 2. AB is, if this is alpha, we can prove that AB is sine alpha by 2. Okay. AB is sine alpha by 2. So we have, this is because AD is already equal to sine m alpha by 2, as we have proven earlier. Okay. Sine m alpha by 2 and into m into sine alpha by 2, because this term into OA, that gets cancelled on either side. So since AB is OA sine alpha by 2 and AD is OA sine m alpha by 2, so we get this relation. So we now notice that we get an important expression for distribution factor KD as sine m alpha by 2 was m sine alpha by 2. And if the voltage is in a distributed winding, the voltage then will be given by 4.5 F into KD NSE into phi max. Now we will conclude this lecture by writing what will happen if that phase winding is both distributed and short pitched or carded. So if it is carded and distributed, what will happen? So in this case, the voltage will be both, that means 4.5 F, we have a pitch factor Kp and distribution factor Kd into NSE into phi max. So the winding factor, we now define what is known as a winding factor. Winding factor is Kw, which is a product of pitch factor and distribution factor. So Kp into Kd, and if you put Kp into Kd, we get the final expression for voltage induced in a synchronous machine with both pitch and distribution factor being accounted for is E is equal to 4.44 F into Kw NSE into phi max, where Kw is a winding factor which is a product of pitch factor and distribution factor. Okay, to sum up, what have we learned today? We have learnt what is the voltage induced if you have a single concentrated winding of NSE turns, and what is the relation of frequency with reference to number of poles and the speed of rotation. Next we have learnt that it is possible to get three-phase voltage by placing three-phase windings in the stator with the same field rotation, and the three-phase voltage will be phase shifted by 2 pi by 3 electrical radians per second. We also next said if the windings are short pitched, we use a pitch factor given by cos beta by 2, and if the windings are distributed not in two slots but in several slots, then we get another expression called sin m alpha by 2 over m sin alpha by 2, and if they are both short pitched or corded and distributed, we get a winding factor which is Kp into Kd, which is a product of the pitch factor and distributed factor, and we finally derived the final expression for the RMS voltage induced per phase of a synchronous generator given by 4.44 into F into Kw NSE into phi max, and Kw NSE can be considered as the effective turns per phase connected in series, and phi max of course is the maximum flux per pole, the flux per pole which is the maximum flux that can link a coil, and F is the frequency of generated voltage. So we will close here, and in the next class we will see what is the significance of the so-called pitch and distribution factors, and we will also understand that they become effective especially when the distribution of flux density in the air gap is not sinusoidal and are having harmonics. So we close today's lecture.